Hello, Programming 11. We are going to be making now this button that we drew into a actual button. So I have a basic program here we're going to build together. This is sort of the output of what we're going to do. And right now I have a basic it draws a squiggly line. I'm not sure what this thing is here, but it's mean. It's got angry eyebrows, and it's got teeth, and it's got little arms, and it's got a pointy tail and legs. Oh my gosh, that's scary. Okay, so also we can now draw Durians. So check this out. This button's sort of like an on-off switch. We talked about this before in the rectangular video, making a toggle switch, but check it out now. It's actually lights up. It's tactile, but also the fact that it sort of, when it's on, I can put a little durian in its hands here. Boop. I enjoyed that way too much. I turn it off and I can go back to, drawing lines. Woo. I could put another durian over here, and over here, and over here, and over here, and so on. I could draw as many durians as I want. Oh my gosh. So that's sort of what we're going to produce in this video. So I'm going to turn that off. Maybe I'll just leave it on because I love that drawing too much. And we're going to go over to a more basic version of this so that we can build it together. So this is what I have here. It's got the drawing. Here's a crazy monster. And it doesn't actually do anything yet with the durian. It lights up. Whoops. It lights up, but it doesn't activate anything. So what I'd like to show you is how do you turn this button into an activatable sort of switch to start drawing durians or whatever it is that your image is going to be. Okay, so first of all, this is what we have. We have the p-image stuff. We have loaded the p-image. We have a button now that is tactile, and it's a rectangle behind an image of a durian. And this tactile function is a little bit different than the one we did before for circle buttons. It's this one here. So it's all about rectangles. So we're checking to see if it's, if mouse X is between these numbers and mouse Y is between these numbers. I made it more abstract. So I'm literally is the mouse greater than X, and is it less than X plus the width? And Y plus the, it's actually not width, is it? It's height. I made a mistake there. It happened that my button was a square, so it didn't matter, but it could matter if I didn't have a square image, if it was a rectangle. So I made that correction there. And basically it chooses to fill yellow or to fill white, depending on whether the mouse is in that area. So that's the story there. What I'd like to do now is to actually make it a thing that can turn on when I click this button. So I want to turn something on, and then when I go to draw, while that's turned on, it'll draw durians. When I click it again, it'll turn it off, and then I'll go back to drawing squiggly lines. So to do that, I'm going to need a variable. We used -1 before in the past, and that's totally fine. We can do that again. So there's another possibility with a Boolean variable as well for setting something to true or false. So I think I'm going to use Boolean variable because it'll give you a chance to show you something new. Boolean variables, I'll call this Durian, oops, I can't spell, Durian on. So when Durian on, I should say what a Boolean is. Booleans are variables that either are true or false. They store true or false. Those are the actual value. You can set it to true or you can set it to false using that exact word there. So if Durian is on, then I'll draw durians. If Durian is off, I will draw the squiggly line. So over in my mouse dragged, right now it looks like it's drawing P mouse X, P mouse Y, that line, that's the squiggly line. So I just want to put in a comment for that. Squiggly line. That's the squiggly line code. But now I want to say, only do that if it's not true. So if Durian on is equal to false. And notice that when I'm checking to see if something is equal to a value, do you see that there's two equal signs there? So if I'm like, hey, is this true or false? I want to compare to see if this variable is equal to the false value. You always have to use double equal sign. When you're assigning a value, when you're making something equal to a certain value, then you use a single equal sign. But in an if statement, it's double equals for comparison. So if it's false, I'll do the squiggly line. And then you could say if DurianOn is true, that would be fine. But there's the if-else structure. So basically, you could say if this wasn't true, then you can have an else that'll do the opposite. And of course, the only other possibility is that DurianOn is true. If it's not false, it's got to be true. There's only two values it can store. So the else is a good way of doing that. But you can code it whichever way you prefer. So here I'll do the Durian drawing code. And that's just simply drawing the p image. So I'll do image, and I'll put in mouse x, mouse y. And then what's next, I guess, is the width and height of the image. I'm using 100, 100. Eventually, you'll want to make these variables so that you can scale it with the slider, which will be a fairly straightforward thing to do, I think, once you get your head wrapped around that idea. So now, if I zoom out, I think we'll have actually nothing will work. The reason is because like this distinction is great, but we have no way to turn DurianOn to true. DurianOn right now, I think by default is false. I'm going to just make sure that's true. DurianOn equals false. Yes, now I can start with drawing a line. But I need some way to click on it to make it true. But just to try it out, I'm going to just set it to true. And let's see if I draw something. Oh, look at that. I did make a mistake. I forgot in the image function I have to tell what image. So I need to draw the Durian. Sorry about that, folks. So if you were wondering if I was crazy, then you were right. I was crazy. So let's try again. So now it's set to DurianOn is true. So I draw Durians. Awesome. And I'll just confirm if I set it back to false that I draw squiggly lines. Yeah, okay, so it works. Now I just got to connect that to this button. This button needs to turn something, turn that variable to false and true depending on it. So let's leave Durian as false. And then I'm going to make a mouse released function for the Durian button. I'll zoom in a little bit. So Durian button, I'll say. And what I'd like to do here is, if I'm clicking on it, so that's a rectangular button. It's a little bit annoying, but we'll type it in. Maybe I'll zoom out a little bit. If mouse x is, and in this case, just the variables for that rectangle, it's greater than 0, and mouse x is less than 100, and mouse y is greater than 0, and mouse y is less than, oops, I'm running out of space here, 100, then what we can do is, this means we have clicked on the Durian button. We've released our mouse, and the mouse coordinates were on the Durian button. So what we can do is say, flip the switch. We want to change it. If it was false, make it true. If it was true, make it false. And the easiest way to do that is to say, what do we call it? I forgot the variable. DurianOn. So I'm going to make DurianOn equal the opposite of whatever it was. And that's not. It's an exclamation mark. DurianOn. So this is pronounced not, and it just flips the truth of it. So if it was true, it becomes false. If it was false, it becomes true. So that flips it. Let's see if it works. Oh, I missed a brace or something. Oh, I missed a semicolon. Bam, there we go. Okay, let's run it. So I'm drawing squiggles. I click on this, and now I'm drawing Durians. And I click on this, and now I'm drawing lines. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, the on-off switch works. Now I'd like to add a little bit more. I'd like to add on the ability to show whether or not it's on in the button itself. And so I've been doing that with the highlight type of code where I make the outline or the stroke a different color and a little bit thicker. So let's take a look at how we might do that. So in the draw function, in addition to checking its tactility, whether we're touching or not, I'd also like to check if it's on or off. So I might say something about DurianOnOff. make a function that's just checking that. So it'll sort of highlight the stroke. And that's going to replace the stroke weight. I don't want to always set it to 1. Sometimes I want it 5, and sometimes I want it 1. So I'm going to make this sort of control the stroke weight and the stroke color as well. So DurianOnOff, I'm going to, you can see here I'm in the draw function. I'll scroll down past the mouse dragged and past the mouse released and past the tactile. And oh, it looks like I had a function here. I call it showOnOff. But DurianOnOff seems a little bit more descriptive. So how do I do that? Well, I basically just check to see, am I in the, oh no, actually I don't have to check that. I just need to check to see if that variable is true or false. So if DurianOn equals true, then just make sure, is that the, yeah, it's the variable. Okay, so if DurianOn equals true, then I want to have a red stroke, and this doesn't matter the color, you can choose. And I want the stroke weight to be thicker, so 5. And then I could say if it's not true, else I'll have the same functions, but I want to have a black stroke, and I want the stroke weight to be 1. So now DurianOnOff will change the stroke and the weight based on whether or not that variable is true or false. So if I run it, now I can click on it, and I can see it's on just by glancing at it, and I click on it again and turn it off. You'll see that some of the stroke was left behind. You see that red outline still? So this is one of the reasons why we need to put in a toolbar. So it's just a rect that goes behind everything, because this space isn't being cleared, right? Like, I can kind of draw, even technically I'm drawing underneath what's going on in here. So I need to put a toolbar, just a rect underneath, across the whole thing. I'll just do that in my draw function. And I'm going to put in just a simple rectangle. Always good idea to set the stroke and fill before, even though you sort of know what the default is, but things can change. So stroke weight, 1, fill, I'll do like gray toolbar, doesn't matter, you guys can choose. We'll start at 0, 0, and we'll go to maybe my program here is 600, and maybe 125. So you can see now, with the gray, I can turn it on and I can turn it off, and this gray toolbar gets drawn over top of that kind of extra red. So that's a pretty nice feature. And I like it. Woohoo! So that's basically the video about how to do this. There's a couple other details that you might be curious about. So like, you know, for example, the Durian's not being drawn on the center, so you can think about how you can change that. Also, it's not like if I just click, it doesn't draw it. So you might have to think about how you can make that change as well. But it's nothing too different from what we've already are doing. So I invite you to investigate that, and feel free to ask for help, either in Teams or if you're in person. Just raise your hand, and we'll make that happen. Okay, we're making progress, folks. I hope that you're feeling good about the project so far, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.